sure people will be kind of
We never know how many people are going to come onto this. How big is the list, Shannon, that we sent this out to?
It's about 200, a little less.
Okay, so we always get who we get, and it's recorded. There were a lot of people that wanted to attend and said that they would do the recording. So Angie, and then this will also be posted on YouTube. So this presentation is part of what we call our Courageous Growth series. We do this once a month. And I'm Lynn Christian, the founder of Soul Salt, head coach here at Soul Salt Inc. Shannon, that you can see, Shannon D, with a Soul Salt as her name over there, runs operations and our client relationships. She is the longest, most endeared employee we have here at Soul Salt. Hi, Jen. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How's the East Coast today?
Rainy.
Rainy. Okay. Glad you're here. And so we have certain people and certain topics that circulate in my world that people are often interested about. And Angie's story goes way back to many, many years, over a decade, where she had this epiphany. And I hope I don't do disservice to the story, Angie. She's one of those people who pays attention to her environment. And she saw somebody competing at pole dancing and winning a medal. I was like, I can do that as a dancer and a gymnast. And I've worked out with Angie at the gym, Jones. She is wicked strong, wicked graceful, even with kettlebells in her hand and barbells in her hand. And so just seeing how strong she was, knowing her in both a personal fashion and a professional fashion, she has created not only that dream come true where she is a medalist and a champion on the pole dancing circuit, she also owns Moxie Movement, which is a dance and pole studio. And I'm proud to say was the host of the first 2 burlesque shows of its kind here in Salt Lake, which we needed a little sexy to shake us up here in Salt Lake. And Moxie did that with Angie's help. So Angie, I don't want to take more time. You have a good story to tell. Let's turn it over to you, and we're all going to get our sexy back some more today. So Angie, go ahead.
All right, let's do it. Thank you so much, Lynn, Soul Salt, everyone for being on this call and who will be watching this later. And I was so excited when Lynn asked me to be a part and to do this call, because I realize I've been, I don't claim myself to be some expert in the sexy, but I'm very much a student who's had my own journey, and I'm fortunate enough to own a studio space where that's an invitation for people to come into our space. And that idea of sexy and being sexy and expressing that within yourself, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, that's something that is inhibited. And sort of, everyone has their own shame or guilt stories or predisposition presented to them through their being raised, through their family, through religion, through society, of how that should look, how that should be expressed, how that's acceptable. And I'll just share my first story. I remember my first pole class. It was, probably 15 years ago at least. And I went with actually my friend Jessica Hunt, who's on this call. And I just remember she was like, let's go do a pole class. And that's when we looked it up and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing and gorgeous. I had no idea that it was a competitive thing at that point. And I just saw the beauty and the power and how sexy she was, but not overtly so. It was a confident sexy. And I was just sort of mesmerized by it. And I remember going to the first class, and I remember the teacher having us do these body rolls, these undulations through our spine, which now I recognize and promote is like, this is like so healthy for your spine to move this way. This is like what should be happening. But I just remember in that class, it wasn't even like presented as this really sexualized thing, but me physically doing it. Like I caught myself in a moment of like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And it was this shutting down of my system, of my body, and all like, oh, like who's looking at me? Like it was a very self-conscious thing. And I just kind of looked around and was like, oh my gosh, like where did that come from? And that was for me like a big aha moment of maybe what I was actually carrying around with me surrounding this that I didn't know. And what else is this holding me back from, this energy or this shutting down or this judgment that I had on myself. So that was an invitation for me to physically move through it, to work through it. And I went on my own journey. And since then, I've been able to hold a space where people come in and have that journey for themselves. And I've been a fly on the wall. I've been a student and, you know, having my own journey, but also hearing about everybody's own journeys. And everybody, no matter who you are, even if you have the best case scenario, you have some type of trauma, you have some type of baggage that you're carrying around with that. And, you know, there have been people that have had a lot of real challenges or trauma around this as well. And so, you know, I feel like in the society in Utah and the religion and everything that I was raised in here, and, you know, in my home environment, I mean, there wasn't a place to talk about this at all. And it was basically the rule is don't talk about it, don't engage with it unless it's within this certain construct. And for this specific person, that's okay. But unless it's that, then, you know, and so I don't feel like we're doing ourselves, our society, our children, anybody a service from treating it that way. And so I
Angie?
feel like, yeah.
Can I ask a question really quick? I wonder if this would be a good time for those of you who want to go to chat to tell us, you just heard Andy's story. Tell us what your story is with the sexy, if you dare, if you feel like you can't, like what stopped you? Like you can see where Angie had that undulation happening and then like, ooh, I shouldn't be doing this. So somewhere, Amy, Jen, Margaret, Jessica, Shari, you guys have been told, don't own your sexy. We want to know about it. Please, please, please. Please go to your chat and tell us about it. Is that okay? And then you keep going.
I love that. And you may not even have had that experience yet too, where you're just kind of humming along thinking things are fine and until you have something that kind of shakes you up. But yeah, I want to hear about this and because everyone's got something to share here. And, you know, that's the invitation of Moxie is come in and explore that piece for yourself. And, you know, what I've learned is that, and what I have to share, I feel like it's not going to be what you'd expect. You know, my ahas and my giveaways are not necessarily something I would have thought years ago. So we can probably just kind of dive into it a little bit more and talk a little bit more about it. I was going to share my screen. I have, let's see. Nice little presentation for you guys. Okay, here we go. Bring your sexy back, finding your sexy, an invitation to more playfulness, intuition, and creativity. You know, we'll talk more about it, but it really is when we're shutting down that part of ourselves, that is our sexual energy, our sexiness, it also plays into your playfulness, your intuition, your creativity, for your knowing that what you're doing is right for yourself, your self-confidence, all of those things get deeply affected one way or another. Let's see, but where did it go? So some people may have found like they, you know, didn't even really find it to begin with. Some people get into, you know, relationship circumstances, have kids, you know, a lot of people that come into my space are moms that have been, you know, moms for years, and they're just kind of feeling like, I feel like a fuddy-duddy mom. What happened? You know, and it could be anywhere along those lines. But my first question is, when you think about that word sexy, what comes up for you? Does it make you feel excited? Do you feel an energy? Do you feel a nervousness or an easiness or something else? And maybe you might not even feel anything. And that's actually more common than I would have thought, is people are so good at just compartmentalizing, maybe shutting that off, putting it in a certain lane or whatever, but they can totally detach from that. My invitation for you today, we're going to do some things, we're going to talk about some things. And as you're moving forward on this journey, let yourself giggle at it. That's something that I giggle, I have an easy laugh and I kind of giggle at myself and others easily, but I really think that's the best process through this. And I really think the path to your sexy is through a playfulness, a laughing, a lightheartedness versus, you know, like it's some serious thing. It's actually really not that. So let's kind of keep moving through. I looked this up. This was dictionary.com, and I thought this was so interesting. The definition, I just copied and pasted, adjective as in being erotically attractive to another. And I thought that was so interesting because I would not have thought that. I wouldn't have inherently included another in that definition. And I want to ask you, you know, how would you define this word? And if you want to put that in the chat, I'd be very interested, but I want you to think about this for yourself. What I put together for that, sexy, it's not a what, but rather a how. So it's not something that looks a certain way, is a certain way, does a certain thing, but more of a how you do something, how you feel about something, how you feel about within yourself. An energy or attitude, embraced as you're engaged in any given moment, comfortable with embracing being sexy with yourself first, and the world and then others can come later. So I think that's really important for us here is this is an energy and attitude that first and foremost should be embodied within yourself. And that allows you to be that gatekeeper for how you present that in the world. Something that I always thought was very interesting when we adhere to another person's law rule, or you know, a religious rule or something, for example, you know, you're already giving away your power to somebody else when you're living by somebody else's rules or definitions there. So, you know, you can agree with whatever else is out there, but really let yourself come from what you feel is right for you and how you would define that for you, or how you would like it to be defined for you. What I want to say is it's not about analyzing or judging, because this is what we all do and this is where we get stuck. Because it comes up and we try to justify it, or we explain it, or we try to change it, or we try to fit it into another box that we feel is acceptable. So it's not about that. It's just about recognizing what is present and true for you right now. Because we also need to give ourselves that we are going to ebb and flow, and what might feel sexy or true for us in a moment might not the next. And that's embracing that is where our power is. And yeah, just revel in that. What does that sexy mean, word sexy mean to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And how does it manifest in your eyes and in the world around you?
And we have some responses.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, I'm not saying those as they come in.
No,
Please
I'm gonna,
share.
that's why I'm here. I'm your co-pilot. Gotcha. So Margaret says, I've never been told that music and dancing is in my blood. But Margaret, if you said that, it probably is, because you probably feel it. And for Gen C, for me, it was religion. Sensuality was sinful. You were encouraged to be modest. And Margaret was talking about, you know, how it might make her feel alive. Jessica Hunt, growing up in gymnastics and always being told how strong I was, made me feel like I was strong and sexy, or that strong wasn't sexy. And that's when I'm learning, Jessica, if I'm wearing my coveralls and I have a tank top on and I walk into a grocery store, I notice that I'm turning heads that I didn't expect to turn. And so it's like, okay, there's something to this, right? That strong could be sexy, right? Okay, and so what was the question again that you're asking them to answer now? What is it that you want them to go to chat with? Oh, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, just what that word sexy means to you.
Okay.
Feel like, look like, how does it manifest in your eyes and the world around you? And, you know, I think, and we'll talk more about this too, but it really parallels with the things you enjoy and just the things that you're attracted to. And we also shut down things we enjoy. So we'll talk more about that too. But, you know, as I want you to check in with that now. And then as we kind of go through our exercises and kind of throughout the next few days, you can kind of refer back to it and really see, you know, and I want you to be a fly on the own wall of your consciousness of, you know, hearing about you guys, like, you know, Jessica growing up and strong wasn't sexy, but, you know, that was just the construct that was presented to her in that way. And that's so funny to me because like strong is at the top of my list for sexy, for like, I don't care what type of person you are, that's at the top of my list, right? So it's just really funny how it's so perceptual and how it's so, how we're so influenced by what's presented to us. Let's talk more about it. So I love what you just said, Lynn. You can be the sexiest person in the grocery store, the meeting or the bedroom or the boardroom. And it actually doesn't mean you do anything different. You don't have to wear anything different. You don't have to say anything different. It's about once you get to that place in yourself where you just feel more confident, feel better, and more sexy in your own skin, then that might encourage you to say something different or to do something different. But I think what gets people messed up is they have a construct of what sexy should be, and they think, oh, I'm not that, so I'm not sexy. But again, like all of that stuff we throw out of it so much again is from the media and from what society and advertisers are saying is sexy. And I think, you know, the stuff that isn't so obvious is always more interesting and therefore more sexy to me. You know, stuff that's not always in your face that way is it's stuff that has a little bit more mystery to it. To me, that's always been a lot more interesting. And so it's really just your energy. The things that we're going to do today are about bringing your energy back to you, getting you feeling comfortable, so that you radiate that out. And then it doesn't matter what you say, what you wear, what you do, where you go, because that's within you no matter what. But let's just try this on for size as well. Okay, so when you hear the word sexy, what other words want to follow? So just ask yourself that. See what list comes up. If you want to take some notes, that's a good idea too, as we're going through today. I should have mentioned that. But also, what colors do you see or feel? Go ahead and close your eyes. When you think about sexy, what comes up for you there? And also, what sensations? What do you feel in your body? And again, you might not feel anything, and it could be, you could be totally shut down, or something else comes up. Let's just sit with that for a moment. And I would love to see this in the chat too. Anything you want to share? And this is where we go wrong, because we then start to just judge ourselves. And again, try to change our story, change ourselves, start to mold whatever to make it work. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to let it be whatever it is. Give it space. Don't judge it. And we're not going to try to push any negative judgments or feelings away right now. So anything that might be coming up, it could be good, it could be bad. This is usually something that's a roller coaster of complicated, multiple layers of emotions. So let it be complicated and layered. What I really love, keep in mind, simply allowing space for emotions or sensations to exist in your body or in your space. That does not equate to giving them permission to permanently stay. So just giving them space, just recognizing that's actually the invitation for things to start moving and to eventually leaving.
Here's some examples. I put some in there. On other words to follow would be sexy as hell. I always love it when you wear your red and your black when you're performing. So I have red, purple, orange, or any kind of skin that shows through some kind of clothing, you know, where there's something, yes.
Yeah.
Where there's a little reveal. And then what do I feel in my body? I don't know. I think a lot of people feel this, but there are certain parts of us that just light up and we have more vibrancy. So those are some answers to
Love
when
that.
you hear the word sexy. How's that?
Love that. Yeah, I think that's great, Lynn. Thank you. Yeah, and again, I just put this up because take a moment to linger in that space, in this new moment. I think the number one rule that I want people to really take away from today is to give themselves that space of allowing, to slow down and just to recognize without feeling we have to rush and change and do. Again, it's being sexy is confident, but it's also very vulnerable. It's being very real in the real moment that's happening and being very and honoring whatever that is for you. So, and again, you honoring that for yourself without judgment will absolutely give others to do the same. So that's a very powerful place to be. And, you know, do not be afraid to have a still, quiet, commanding presence in the world. Again, being sexy isn't going out and being that person on stage that has to show it in such a grandiose way. You can do that, but that's actually not what that has to equate to. The biggest thing I want to say too, that allowing space is allowing yourself to embrace all of what feels good. So what I find with myself and others, we are so conditioned to turn away from what feels good because of what we should be doing, because of this practical thing we should be spending our energy on, because this food tastes too good. And if I enjoy it too much, it's gonna, hurt my body or whatever. Like we create an environment for ourselves. And in society, it's very much about not reveling in those things that you enjoy. And so those things that make you feel good, that's what we want to lean into. What you said, Lynn, there's a part of you that lights up when you hear that. That's the part we want to tune into, that part that lights up. Those things that make you feel good throughout your day and in any moment, those thoughts that feel good, those thoughts and things that make you feel sexy. Start giving yourself that permission. And maybe that's just your promise to yourself today is I'm going to give myself permission to feel, and I'm going to give myself permission to enjoy the things that I enjoy. And I give you that permission because I wasn't doing that for so long. And this could be, the simplest things, enjoying that sunshine on your skin and how that feels to warm you, enjoying that delicious cup of coffee in the morning, enjoying that delicious hug, enjoying that delicious hand, enjoying, that smile with that person, or just that lovely eye contact, if only for a moment. Just enjoying what you enjoy. We don't allow ourselves to do that. And I think that's the number one thing that starts to eat away at these other pleasurable things. And that's how we start getting detached. So that's my big challenge for you guys for this week, is just to kind of start there with allowing yourself to feel whatever feels for you and comes up in a genuine way, but noticing when you're attracted to something, noticing when you hear a song that is sexy or sounds good, noticing when you're doing a little dance that feels good or whatever it is. Something else I want to say on this too, for me, because I do have opportunity where I perform on stage and I'm wearing really, scandalous, sleek outfits on the pole or whatever and loving that. But in real life, I'm actually pretty conservative, pretty modest. I'm always pretty chilly, right? But for me, I like clothes that are comfortable, where I feel warm and comfortable. If I'm warm and comfortable, then my body can relax and soften. If I'm always wearing the G-string and fancy blinged out bra, that's not comfortable.
Right.
That's fancy and fun, but right, you can see how it's but so many people are like, oh, if I'm not wearing that sexy outfit, then I'm not sexy. No, I actually can dress in my sweats and really tap into that feeling because my body feels comfortable, relaxed, and warm.
And Angie, I've noticed this too when you perform, even in the burlesque. You were, I noticed this in a distinction between you and some of the other performers, that you even didn't go down to a certain level that they did. And I thought that's Angie and her, what would you call that? That, I don't know if it's your modesty or your level of sexy comfort, or what you reveal, maybe what you reveal.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, again, I was raised with a very, staunch way, modest is the hottest, right? Anyways, but I've seen other people kind of leaving that, going to the other extreme where it's everything is out there. And I feel like whatever you do is fine. It's not a judgment thing for me, but again, it's I'm just more comfortable. If I feel like I'm being too revealed, I might feel insecure about the pole moves I'm actually doing, and I was actually just telling Shannon, just really briefly, it's interesting because I had a competition 2 weekends ago and it was a sexy division at a pole comp. Lynn, you said it was sexy as hell. I thought it was sexy as hell, but I had one judge that I just got their feedback from recently, and she was giving me a hard time that I didn't reveal enough.
Oh my
And
goodness.
yeah. And that it wasn't I don't know what she thought it could have been. So she I don't know, really was hard on me. But I did the routine that I thought was really sexy. I did the routine that I wanted to share. And maybe someday I'll get down to my pasties in a show, but I haven't done that yet. But also again, it's where I'm feeling comfortable, and so that's just it. And it's still sexy as hell, right? It still is, with or without another layer coming on or off. And I think I do, to what you mentioned though, I think for me, there's more sex appeal in the mystery, leaving a little bit dangling where it's like, what is that extra little bit? Like that really pulls me in. So
That's what came across to me, and that's why I noticed it, was that the lack of reveal kept more mystery around you than some of the other performers. And I was like, that's Angie style. They're right there.
yeah, yeah. And I think, and who knows, I might get there, at one
You're right.
point where I
Give
want to
yourself
do
freedom,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just kind of been that way too. And I think, I don't know if my mom's going to the show, I think I'm more shy, but but no, but that's to my point. I don't feel like I have to reveal every part of my body to be sexy or to feel like I'm really offering that. And so, that was my choice there. And not everyone has to agree with it or like it. And yeah, if you do put yourself out in a bigger way, you will get judgment from people. But I was so comfortable with myself and my choices for it. And actually, it's funny. I told a friend before I competed, I was like, I think I have an insecurity that it's like not enough from what they were looking for. And then we just kind of laughed and we're like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, it is. Like, I'm taking stuff off, but so anyways, it just shows you like how you shouldn't put yourself into judgment there. We can move on. I wanted to talk about that sexual energy equals creative energy. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the chakra systems or the energy systems in the body. You'll hear most about that sexual energy as that solar plexus, that second chakra. Let's go to the next page because I have this nice little thing here. You can kind of, screenshot that if you want to and look a little bit more closely. But that red at the bottom and the yellow and the orange on top of it, that sacral and root chakra at the very bottom, those are the two that are most thought of when we think of sexual energy and expression and the energy centers that are related with that. Absolutely, they are. When you look at the root chakra, it's interesting to kind of read through. The color is red, survival, grounding, stability, comfort, safety, and it's also very instinctual. That root chakra is sort of our survival, our base needs, instinctual needs. Sacral chakra is that orange chakra that goes up and sensuality, sexuality, pleasure, creativity, emotions. So yeah, you can imagine if those two are closed off, that's going to literally close off, again, your sensuality, creativity, that life-giving energy. But as we go up, like that solar plexus, that yellow, that heart chakra, that green, and that throat, I believe that all of those are really, really deeply connected in with how somebody is in their sexual expression, sexual energy. Our solar plexus, that yellow one, that has to do with ego and self-esteem and willpower and movement. Do we move here or do we not move now? So, if there's something going on there and we don't have any self-esteem, right? That's going to affect how we express that. Of course, the heart chakra, if we're closed off here, that's energy center of love. And also our throat chakra up here, if we're not communicating what is real and true for us, if we're not communicating our feeling, if we're not communicating what we want. So, we can't really separate this down into like one little thing. This is about your whole body sort of coming alive and opening and working well, to get you to that place that we want you to feel really comfortable and confident. So yeah, and again, it's like it's never so simple. All of us have blockages everywhere and for different reasons. And I believe we don't have to get to the bottom of why things are this way. I just believe, oh, there's an issue here. What do we want to work towards? Let's see if we can move towards that. I don't feel like we have to harp on, the blockages necessarily. Let's just try to soften and open things up and move from here. Oh, I'm excited for this. We're going to get into some exercises. You guys ready for this? So we can do this from a seated position. Find it or laying position. Just go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to imagine a beautiful chalice, a big chalice. Maybe it's made of glass or metal. Maybe it has, gems on it. Maybe it's really simple. Just kind of see what chalice comes up for you and say that this is your sexy energy, your sexual energy. And take a couple of breaths. Put your hands on your low belly. let's do this. We're going to take a deep breath and first clench everything. Think about sucking everything up, 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 up. Squeeze your pelvis muscles, your abs, everything up, up, up. Hold your breath. And then as you exhale, you can relax and melt down. A lot of times we clench our butts. You could call it that tight butt syndrome. As Sonia Choquette talks about, another amazing teacher. But so many people are just clenched, right? And you hear about, oh, that person just has a stick up their butt. Like, we hope none of us are that person. Sometimes we are, but doing that exercise, tightening up and then relaxing, open up that space, relax your belly, relax your pelvis. So much of the time we're holding that in. And let's just notice our chalice. How much is it filled right now? Is the water stale or draining? Is new water or energy moving through it? Is it alive and vibrant, or does it have cobwebs? Is it like a swamp? Again, no judgment. And once you kind of have that, just take note of that. Let's see if we can open it up. Let's see if we can pull an energy, just universal, limitless energy above you. Just let that start pouring through your chalice, pouring in around you. Let that water totally recirculate and wash and fill and slosh and move around. And if your chalice wasn't looking that jazzy, go ahead and give yourself a fancier chalice. Vibrant it up, give it some beautiful colors, give it some beautiful adornment, whatever. I really like this one because you can just check in at the beginning, at any point of your day, and then you can invite that invitation to fill it and just ask for that to be rejuvenated. And this has really been valuable for me too. If I check in and my chalice is not looking that hot on whatever given day, if it's looking pretty drained, that's okay. I'm going to be nice to myself that day. That's one of my times to give to myself first today. And give to yourself and give to your chalice first. So now that we've got that, okay, we're going to move on. This one is you can do this, I recommend from a standing position. Full body is better, but if you're ever limited in your space, you can always do this however. But a full body shaking exercise, I'll explain it quickly before we do it. I love that animals do this naturally, and you'll see this when you watch nature shows. A lion's chasing, some type of, a zebra or whatever, almost gets the zebra gets away and gets off with its herd, whatever, that zebra starts to shake. And you see these animals and they just literally shake, 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 and they kind of shake it off. And there's a process of literally resetting your nervous system. And our nervous system is the same as these mammals, where we shake and it will cause our nervous system to do a reset. And so it's such a wonderful tool for when you're not feeling great, for when especially when you have a negative experience, you want to shake it off. And so it'll help with any of that stuckness. So you can also do this with vocalization. So if your guys' mics are off and you want to go for it, I love it. We want to get things moving through the throat. We want to get things moving through the body. So I invite you to stand up. We'll go through this. It's best done with music, but I think that music doesn't translate very well to these types of things. So we're just going to kind of go through it. But we'll start with just our hands. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to start shaking the hands. Let that be free. And again, if you have any injuries or something you got to be careful of, modify it for yourself. We're just going to start letting that move. I'm going to go ahead and take it a little more through my shoulders and arms. Just shake that out. Do some shimmies. You can take the arms up overhead like you're that at the car lot, those blowy bodies. That's a good way to have inspiration for this. Go ahead and shake your head. If you got your hair waving, you can do that. We'll add a little more through the torso and through the heart. So see if you can kind of shake a little bit more through your core. Yes, you guys are so good. I'm seeing you going for it. Let's get that booty. Get that booty. Shake it side to side really fast. Oh yeah, let it go. Feels so good. We'll take it into our legs. See if you can shake out right leg. Whole foot, let it be loose. Shake it out. You can kind of still keep shaking your body if it feels good. And other side. Yes. I recommend doing this at least 30 seconds to 2 minutes is a good reset. Let's go ahead and shake out that whole body. See if you can get everything kind of moving. Move those feet. Yes. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just stop and see what you feel. You should feel that movement. To me, it feels like a little wave. I can feel, I'm sorry, I'm cut off. I feel these pulsing waves. Maybe a little tingle at your hands and feet. And just allow yourself to resettle back down into that. Feels so good. So that's our shaking. We're gonna take it while we're standing right into our next exercise, which is our simple hip movements. Let's see, I'm gonna come out of the screens with this one so you guys can, oops, wait a minute. How do I do this? I'm gonna
Might
stop.
have to go to Zoom and say stop sharing, or I can make it so you stop sharing.
Hold on.
Do you want me to stop you from sharing?
Sure, yeah, because I can't figure it out.
Okay.
There we go.
And I'm gonna stop sharing. And there we go.
Cool. Please, yeah, see me a little bigger.
Yeah, we can see you better now.
So when people ask me, because I'll teach this all the time, and it's like, well, how do you dance sexy? Like such a broad thing. And my answer is very simple, spiraling. Spiraling is how you dance sexy. It's very natural when you think about just the nature of the universe, right? When you think about that DNA structure even, everything moves naturally in a spiral. And so much of our day, we're just walking in a straight line, we're sitting in this very front normal plane, rather than moving in circles and spiraling, which our bodies really crave. And so we're just gonna kind of try some things. This should all feel really good and natural to you. And so I recommend starting at the top and then going down, or starting at the bottom and going up. I think we'll start with the top today. Go ahead and kind of keep those shoulders down and back, and you can start with a very slow spiral of that head and neck, gently moving around. Oh, but just noticing that spiral sensation. Take a couple in each direction and just go slow. Careful going back. We can just take it up and over like a little rainbow. We don't have to go all the way back with our head. Feels really good if you've got longer hair. You can just let that cascade wherever it wants to. So we've got our spiral there. Let's take it to our shoulders. So I'm going to think about spiraling one shoulder at a time. So just think about that shoulder drawing a little circle. And I'm going front, up, back, down. You could also go this direction. So just a spiral of my shoulder. If we take that over to the other side, you can do that little back and forth. Yes, so I've got a spiral in my shoulder. Spiral in my shoulder, and I'm just gonna go one back and forth. What I want you to keep in mind as you're spiraling, everything is soft. My knees are soft right now. I'm kind of like a little bowl of jelly. I'm not trying to be too rigid. I'm just gonna kind of let my body want to sway. So as I'm circling the shoulders, it might want to make my torso open up a little bit. But my body definitely wants to react to my shoulders moving. You can play with that. You can spiral that any which way and take that forward. Or you can take it back. Same thing if I wanted to take my arms or my elbows or my hands on that journey. And then it would become about, what are my hands experiencing? What do I actually feel through the air? And so just enjoying that. Let's take it a little bit further. I'm going to imagine my heart in my chest is like a big flowing ball of energy, and you can try to take that in an actual circle. So trying to take that torso in a circle, this is going to open up through the spine. It's going to feel really, really good to just think about creating that space in the core of your body. You can take a few different directions. Spiraling through the chest. Let's go ahead and take a spiral through the hips. So with those hips, keep your knees soft. I feel like you can see as well, but I'm going to keep my knees nice and soft with this. And again, I'm going to think about first taking my whole booty in that spiral all the way around. Yep. Knees are soft. And you're going to feel tight spots in the hips, like, oh, my hips haven't moved like this before or in a while. So let that be nice and easy and comfortable. You can take that in the opposite direction. And just opening up those hips to those tight places. If you're like, oh, it's stuck there, let yourself pause there. There's no rush to move through any of those. So we've got our big hip circles. We've also got our really sexy figure eights with our hips. So we're going to do one circle at a time. One circle at a time. It cuts across. I'm going to go front, side, back, front, side, back, front, side, back. You can also do that back, side, front, back, side, front. And it creates that little figure eight shape. And that should just feel good. This should just feel good for your hips to have a softening and an opening. Soft knees. If you find yourself, if you're stiff and rigid, this is so good for you. Just think about melting and softening. I imagine I'm a stick of butter that's just kind of in the microwave that kind of melts down. Going past that, you can keep your knees soft and do some circles and spirals with the legs and feet, just taking circles and spiraling around. Spiraling. And so what I'd recommend is doing this to, a whole song that you like, that you find sexy, but just letting yourself move and find a pattern that feels good, and staying with that pattern is really going to go a long way for you. Again, it's like going into those things that feel really good. Let's see, I got to go back. I'm going to go back to my notes real quick.
Yeah, well, Angie's doing that. Just notice the shifting in your body. I'm curious, you don't have to answer this yet because Angie set us up for it, how you felt about sexy and you being sexy when we started. Kind of check in now, and I know she's going to ask it again before we leave. So get some data on yourself, and especially after these exercises.
Love that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again.
Yeah, please do.
Oops.
Coming on.
Sorry, I'm not the best at the Zoom. Okay, here we go. Boop, boop.
There we go. There it is.
So yeah, just this little bit. It was the spiraling is always sexy and natural. And you can take it with any type of music, and you can take it at any level, right? So if you're just also at the club kind of doing your thing, you just think about a little spiral somewhere in your body, right? That's enough to just kind of keep you moving and engaged. And you can always take that bigger more if you want to. But the point of that is it's natural, it's comfortable, and it gets us really embodied in ourselves. This next thing I want to share is a heart tapping exercise. And maybe if you've done EFT, emotional freedom technique, or anything like that, it's really just kind of stemmed from that. But this has been so helpful for me at healing my heart. Especially if we've got stuckness or blockages there, that's going to deeply affect so much about our lives, in our relationships, and how we express ourselves. And so to open up that heart, it also works to open up the throat. And you can do this to release. You can also just do this to train your focus and to send better energy out. I feel like that's what it's done for me. So it's basically, heart tapping. Say you find, and it works in different scenarios. So say, for example, you find yourself in a heartache moment, And maybe you're reflecting on something that happened to you that was painful, or somebody did something that really hurt you, or some type of trauma that you're reflecting on. You know, you can just tap on your heart and have that experience and just kind of give it that recognition that it's okay that it exists. You know, it's not, again, it's not making it stay, but you can kind of just tap through that. Once you're kind of feeling a little bit better there, I really like to tap in what you want to bring more of. And so say, for example, you know, you get to a point too, where maybe you can think about a situation or person or thing where there would be a lot of pain there, but you know what, I'm sick of feeling pain over this, and it's a really big bummer what happened, but you know, maybe I really did love that person, or I'm grateful for the lesson, or I'm grateful for the time that it was, or whatever, even if it's not the same now. You can just go to that simple place of appreciation for something, whether it's the lesson or whatever it was, the person. If you can get to that point where you're just tapping out more feeling of vibration, or more just neutral heart energy, or more loving heart energy, that's very powerful. And then a step on top of that, if you do find that something that really opens up your heart, that makes your heart sing, that lights you up and makes you feel vibrant, give it that tapping. So yes, I'm feeling really open right now, and I'm feeling yes to this and saying yes to this. And hey, I'm saying yes to this and it feels good. And you can tap more into that energy. So that heart tapping works really well. You can also do it with your throat if you feel like you have to open that up, and maybe you say what you need to say, you know, to yourself, but maybe you're expressing and just saying what needs to be expressed, and through that process as well. So that heart tapping, that throat tapping, expressing whatever needs to be expressed, giving negative emotions just as much compassion and place to exist as you do positive emotions, goes a huge way with you accepting yourself, and really getting to know yourself. And then just be gentle as you go. This one, again, has helped me through so much, and I feel like it's helped me process through a lot. So I hope that one can be helpful for you guys. A couple of other things I want you to start doing this week, and you can do this right now. I want you to name your sexy. So giving your sexy a name, and you can call on this sexy energy anytime. Give it more features, give it more personality. I don't know where this name came from, but mine is Karina. I don't know any Karinas. I know a rock star Karina. I think she's pretty sexy and cool, but that name just kind of came up for me. And so, yeah, I kind of just go with it. But, you know, giving that energy a feeling, a look, maybe a few colors to it. You know, it's something that when you start to feel it and recognize it, you can say, oh, Karina's here. She just wants to join the party. It doesn't mean that she has to be in everybody's face about it. She can be, but, you know, however that shows up for you, I want you to be on that openness to discovering what that is. And maybe you don't get a name today. Maybe a name, maybe features, personality starts to fill in as you continue to open yourself up to this. So this last thing here is call out the sexy. Let yourself recognize when you see something that is sexy within yourself, within another, out in the world, in a song, in, you know, whatever it is, recognize it and call it out. And that could even just be within yourself. You're driving along and you hear that song, ooh, that's sexy. You know, ooh, I'm looking at that person. Ooh, they're sexy to me. Well, why are they sexy? You know, and you can actually just be curious about this. And again, it's very obvious to me that like my sexy isn't somebody else's sexy, and it doesn't have to be. That's never going to be the case. So giving yourself time to enjoy what you enjoy, call out the sexy, name your sexy, just gives it that invitation to be present in your life and your experience. Yeah, this one, just a couple more questions for you guys to kind of think about. I'd love for you to ponder more on this and think about, you know, 3 to 4 people that embody sexy to you. This could be people you know, this could be a famous person, but what about them specifically comes across that way for you, and see how specific you can be. I remember doing a similar thing with Lynn years ago. I got this idea from Lynn as far as like, what we see in others, whether we're attracted to it or whether we're repulsed by it, is always some type of mirror reflecting, into self. So what you are seeing sexy about these other people is stuff that you actually have sexy within yourself. Maybe you don't see that, or maybe it's not expressed, but we can't help but recognize things that we already recognize. So I think that one's a very powerful one. What clothes feel sexy for you to wear or not to wear? Sexy underwear or none? And I love this. And I love this because it all start as your little secret that you're sexy, right? And again, I'll tell you a secret of mine. Like sometimes I usually don't wear bras because they're uncomfortable to me. Like they're not comfortable. You know what I mean? Or, things like that. When I wear them, they are very, beautiful and sexy. And I like a lingerie, but it's like, again, I'm doing what's comfortable for me, what feels like I can be relaxed. And it's kind of a fun secret too. Like, as you're moving about your day. Give your sexy name. You can call on it anytime. And what sexy music is to you. I invite you to start your own sexy playlist. Just a couple of recap key takeaways. Sexy is not in the what, but it's in the how you do things. How it feels. And I want you to giggle yourself. Like if you start feeling really weird and awkward, let yourself just giggle at it. It's totally fine. It gives other people permission to laugh and be lighthearted as well. And I think that laughing, lightheartedness, and playfulness is always sexier than overly serious. This overly serious attitude. I feel like when that comes across for people, a lot of times it is disingenuine. Maybe that's something that they're kind of doing as a protective mechanism, or maybe that's a way for them to, seem more mysterious, or just, maybe they're very vulnerable, really. And so that's kind of why, they put out a certain energy. But letting yourself be playful and fun and lighthearted is the way to go with this. It gives you permission to not be perfect, and somebody who's okay with that, being around that person allows other people to be more vulnerable and more of themselves and more sexy and expressive. It's subjective, and it may not be what it is to you, the same to another, and it might ebb and flow. I think a lot of people, feel like they have to decide something or have something so nailed down or concrete. And it's like, no, it's something that actually ebbs and flows within every moment. And that makes it very exciting. Let your sexy be for you first. Let it be your little secret that you're sexy as hell. And you can choose to or not choose to be, that sexiest person in the room. And I'll just share this too. I love at my studio when people, these moms, for example, I mentioned them coming in, these fuddy-duddy moms in their sweats. They've been dealing with all these kids all day, whatever. They come in, they take it off. They've got a sexy outfit underneath. They learn the sexy routine. It's so much fun. And then they put the sweats back on with a smile on their face and they go home. That is something that is within them that radiates out no matter what. And they'll say, I got to get to pole class because my kids always say, Mom, you're way better when you get to pole class. Like people recognize these things. And allow yourself to feel good. What do you enjoy? Do you enjoy the coffee? Do you enjoy the flavor of this tea? I love enjoying my food. And I notice when I slow down and enjoy it more, I actually will eat less too, because it's just more of a satiating thing. I feel like that's true for just all of it. Enjoying yourself to, give more smiles to strangers, or opening your heart to a stranger, even if you don't say anything. That type of stuff really just adds a certain level of magic to your life. And I actually think that it also, things aren't as much of a mystery. I can be open and share myself in a certain way. It doesn't mean I have to go and do all this stuff that would, overstep lines of what I feel is appropriate or whatever. It doesn't make you behave inappropriately. It actually makes you just feel really good about where you are. What are your guilty pleasures? I also love hearing about these too. I love hearing people's little guilty pleasures of stuff that they maybe don't want to admit. The music, you know, I like this band, but I'm not going to tell anyone. Or I love your little guilty pleasures. Create that environment for you to enjoy. Breathe, slow down, try the shaking, try the tapping, try that chalice meditation. Just let yourself be curious, be open to discovering what this is for yourself, because, you know, especially what I've discovered, I know that it's not going to be the same for myself a year or 10 years from now. So it's a never-ending journey. Last but not least, I wanted to offer you guys for this call a free class at Moxie Studio. So there's the Moxie schedule at the right on this page. You can scan that. You can sign up for it. You'll just put in that code on the left, the Find Your Sexy, all together one word. That'll give you a complimentary class. You can come in and try out a movement class with us. It'll apply to any of our movement classes. We do pole, we do aerial hammock, silks, aerial hoop. We do yoga. We also have our sensual movement classes, which are a lot of fun. Those are Moxie spelled with 3 X's. And I also did create a Spotify playlist for you guys to find your sexy. That's what this other little scan me green QR code is. I love all different genres of music. I purposefully put different styles of music on there. And again, not always the most obvious choices. I find, you know, like it's funny when you ask people, you know, what is a sexy song? It's like they pick some Beyonce song, which yes, fair enough, but that's like a very obvious choice. Let's find something that's a little bit obscure and see what we enjoy and find as sexy. So I put that together for you to just kind of maybe as a jumping off point. You can listen to it in line or in order or on shuffle. There's no rhyme or reason to it, but I want you to start finding what are those things that light you up and start down that path and just see where it takes you. I know we're about time for the class. I took up all the time, but I'd love to hear any final comments or questions or anything else you want to wrap up with.
Yeah, and Shannon, would you put Angeli's contact information in the chat? You guys can grab that. You can get signed up, get signed up on Angie's newsletter and send questions there, right?
You can also, I mean, if you have any questions directly, you can email me. I'd be happy to chat with you any more at length on this, just Angela@moxiemovement.com. And yes, please sign up for our newsletter. Because this has really inspired me, you know, getting this opportunity to do this call with Lynn and you guys. And I'm moved to the fact that I need more of this stuff to offer. I really want to offer more specific movement courses to just really dial this in. And just kind of hear if there's some interest somewhere else with what you guys have been exploring just today.
Yeah, and so if you are interested, please reach out. Let Angie know, because I just heard it. You just heard it. She may make a class just for those of us who are interested in this. If you let her know you are. So Angela at moxiemovement.com. You can see it there. You have the scan codes. I've already downloaded my playlist, Angie. So yeah.
I'm so glad. And again, like you might hear some of the songs and you're like, yeah, and then you might hear another one, you're like, oh no, this is not my vibe. But again, it's like, listen to that. You're going to be turned off by things, you know, what turns you on and what turns you off. Like, again, pay attention to those things.
That's right. I hope everybody has found that you are sexy, and there is some part of you that other people will find sexy, and that the most important person to feel you're sexy is yourself. So thank you for being with us today, Angie. What a delight. What an enlightened moment we've had together. And for all of you who've joined us, we're really appreciative. So have a sexy rest of your day, everyone.
Yes, thank
Take care.
you. Take care. See ya.
Bye.